we talk about the state of New York baseball, and I think that has all shifted. But let me pick a bone with you over your characterization of the Cleveland Indians, because I have to take some issue here. I know they've ripped it apart. I know that it makes it kind of low hanging fruit to rip them, but do they have a choice? I mean, to some extent, and I'm not going to call myself an expert on the Cleveland Indians, that I follow everything they do, but I don't know that they have had any other choice but to strip down the same way you saw the Kansas City Royals do it after they won a World
Any
Series.
choice?
You don't look at what Tampa Bay is doing. They're losing Blake Snell. I don't think that
Are these guys poor? Are these guys poor
yeah,
that are owning the team?
I don't think they want to do it. I don't think they're doing it out of a will. I think if you want to talk about instituting a salary cap, I will have that conversation with you. I don't think that these teams are happy to trade their franchise players. I mean, I'll even say the Chris Antonetti, the guy who runs the Cleveland Indians, I'm assuming on Zoom, had to break the news to Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco, and he said there were tears in his eyes. I mean, he was very upset. I don't think these guys are happy to do it, Emmanuel. I really don't.
I'm not going to cry with them, Chris, because these guys who decide to own Major League Baseball teams, they're not in poverty. They are not wealthy.
No.
They are not even rich. They are mega rich.
Correct.
And to sell me on the fact, I'm not talking about getting rid of one star or a borderline star or even a situation where the Yankees could potentially not end up with LeMahieu. I'm not talking about those scenarios. I'm talking about in 2016, your rotation consists of Kluber, Bauer, Carrasco, Clevenger, even Josh Tomlin. The first four guys I just mentioned to you are no longer on that baseball team that went to Game 7 of the World Series and nearly brought Cleveland its first title since 1948. That's a travesty to me. And those are all pitchers, two of which could end up being Hall of Famers, four of which are all-stars. I can't live with that, regardless of if you're a small market, big market. You owned a baseball team. You have a duty to your fans, and it's becoming too normalized for this to happen in Major League Baseball.
Emmanuel, talk to Rob Manfred. Don't talk to me. Talk to Rob Manfred.
Well, how is it Manfred's fault, though?
Because this is a game that enables the kind of inequity that makes a team like Cleveland unable to sign these guys. Salary cap.
Hash that out, though. I want you to hash that out for me, because if you own a baseball team, small market, big market, it's really on the owner. We just saw it with the Mets. Steve Cohen swoops in. All of a sudden, the Mets are formidable. If you own a baseball team, you have that mandate to spend. So could Cleveland be the Yankees? Probably not, but could they be close if they chose to be?
No. Put New York City up against Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, come on. If you're talking about what an economy produces, and I have not looked into the numbers. The numbers are not public of what these teams' bottom lines are. But I'm not under the understanding that the Cleveland Indians, in a marketplace like baseball that is not regulated, could be even close to the New York Yankees.
Let's get back to the point here, though, because we can hash it out on salaries and markets, and I understand Cleveland is not New York City. Does that excuse going from 4 to 0 in terms of all-star pitchers? You can't keep one or two? That team is decimated. And all of a sudden, Cleveland has to sell to its fan base, whoever roots for them.
I'm as upset about it as you are. And I think that, if you were a Cleveland Indian fan, you'd be even more upset. But we see it with franchises across the sport who just cannot hold on to their superstars, who draft once in a generation type of talent, and they can't keep it. And it isn't right. On the other hand, you have teams here in New York City that are the beneficiaries of this system. And while on one side in the Bronx, you've had a team that has taken advantage of a system that is not really fair. Let's just be honest. The Mets haven't. The Mets have behaved like a Kansas City Royals, like an Oakland Athletics, maybe not to that extent, but something like a middle market team like a Chicago White Sox. Finally, that is over. I am convinced that era is over. They not only are they rich, they have the richest owner in baseball. But on your point about spending, I think it's a league-wide plague. I mean, now with one exception, and ironically, it is the Mets at this point. But even the Yankees appear to be reticent to spend money. But across the sport, obviously, the league endured a terrible year for revenue, as did the entire world. But especially, to be fair, in their industry, it was they didn't have any fans in the seats, and I would imagine that will be the case for the beginning of 2021. Um, that's tough, but it is disappointing to see such a sluggish market. And I have to say that as a Met fan, it is it's pretty sweet to see the Mets be the only team that has taken advantage of that market. When Francisco Lindor does get a long-term contract, it's very possible that the Mets are going to get him, going to get a really good bang for their buck as a product of a market that is so depressed.
In 2019, Chris, the New York Yankees made $683 million in revenue. Unless you're just spending it recklessly or you are greedy as an ownership group, and I think the Steinbrenners have done a great job since they've taken over the Yankees. There have been no complaints about getting the player. But are we going to treat this like some small business in a small town that's been affected by this pandemic? These teams need to spend. And we're talking about inequity here. If the Major League Baseball system has hurt the Yankees to such an extent, the New York Yankees to such an extent where they can't open the checkbook after 1 year of not having fans in that building, after making $683 million in 2019, I see. I can't empathize with a team like the Cleveland Indians in that case, because even the Yankees are trying to sell you on a batch of goods that they've been hurt by this. So I don't know, man. I can't buy the ownership angle to this. You make so much money. So what? Trade away your entire team? Let your team dwindle off one season where everyone went through it together. It's not like one team was having fans and one team wasn't. You're on even playing ground. So why aren't the Yankees being the Yankees? Why are the Indians trading away Lindor? Why are the Rays trading away Snell? They're trying to normalize, and the owners are selling us and poisoning us.
Yeah, I am not crying a river for the multi-billionaires that run Major League Baseball teams. I think you said it well. It is being normalized to trade away a superstar. Maybe you want to take issue with the way that management is happening in baseball. The way that these front offices are being run is a sort of a dispassionate analytical world where you can crunch the numbers and discover that you can derive the same value from this set of 6 players that you're going to get at good economic value at the expense of somebody else. There is a lot of maneuvering that has been the product of analytics, just finding efficiency. And that's what teams that haven't had the budgets to go get a big guy have had to do. So they've been forced to do that. But in problem solving in that way, the game has lost some luster, some superstar luster in small markets. I mean, it really is a shame, and I don't know where to direct my animosity. I guess I guess we're lucky here in New York, because it's not something that we look. If I was a radio host in Tampa Bay, I mean, come on, how do you think I'd feel? I mean, I'd feel terrible that my ace pitcher is now gone. And look, maybe I don't know, but it is a problem. It's a problem league wide, and they've got to find a way to change these spending habits.
It might be naive to say this. I just think baseball needs to get these teams in more capable, open, willing hands, because if you're the Rays, I admire your ability to locate talent. I admire your ability to do more with less. I never said that's an issue for me, but if you get a once in a generation type player, you shouldn't have to completely take advantage of him earlier in his career like they did with Longoria and give him some 7-year no money type contract to keep him there. You should be willing to open the checkbook for your generational player and still build around him, because frankly, the rest of the Rays roster is probably costing you like $1 compared to what that one player would cost. So I just think there needs to be a structural change within baseball. And you may be right. I may retract and say it is Manfred's fault, because there needs to be a structure here where owners assume teams that are willing to put a product on the field that their fans can be proud of, and not sell them this garbage of, oh, we just traded Blake Snell, but stay with us. We won 90 something games last year and went to the World Series. They're trying to brainwash the fan base into thinking that's okay. And I don't think it should be okay.